Hello again, YouTube. Today's project is bleeding the brakes on my 2014 Spyder RT. It's never been done. It's going on 6 years old. The maintenance says I think every 4 years it's supposed to be flushed, the brake system. I do check it every time I service it with one of these handy little tools. Brake liquid tester. I got it off eBay a long time ago. And it's still testing okay, but I have the B.U.D.S program now, and I'm kind of curious how that works. Doing the B.U.D.S flush on it, the book says to flush it normally, like you would anything. Start with, I think it says the front left, right, and then the rear, and then the VCM, flush it. To make this easier and to make it a one-person job, which I'm all about, keeps everybody happier, I ordered speed bleeders. So I'm going to replace all the bleeders here first, and then I'm going to start bleeding the brakes. So I've got speed bleeders, I've got hose to hook up to it, I've got a jar for each wheel, and the way these are supposed to work, they have a spring and basically a one-way valve, a ball in it, that you can back it off quarter to a half turn and then just pump your brakes. So we're going to see how good these work. I will link in the description these guys' website, and so I'm going to pause the video, get all these installed, and I'll be back with you in a minute. Okay, I thought I'd show you guys this real quick. You see the VCM here, so where we're at's right between the front wheels, and where the bleeder is, the stock bleeder is a 12 millimeter, and I found the easiest way to get to it was, and I kind of have big hands, so it is doable, is just sneak in between the A-arms, the upper and lower, and get a wrench on it here. So, and then I thought I'd show you actually replacing one of these. So brake fluid is a corrosive. It's not good on paint. So what I'm doing is just wrapping the area with a rag, and I already blew it off, blew all the dust out. The originals are 8 millimeter. The speed bleeders are a 1/4 inch. So sneak the old one out. And thread the new one right in. And they have a sealant on the threads, so when you loosen them, the brake fluid is forced through the center of the bleeder and doesn't weep out around the threads. Or the whole purpose of this is not to have to tighten up the bleeder before you release the brake pedal. Okay, so I took the rag off, and the way I do it when I'm working on brakes is after I'm done, I'll shoot some brake cleaner on it and then just blow it off right away. To force evaporate it, and that's what I did in there on the VCM2 when I put the speed bleeder in there. So okay, I'm gonna get the last one done, then we'll start bleeding. Decided I might as well film putting the rear one in. At least you'll know where it's at when you start, or before you start. Like I said, the The two fronts and the rear are 8mm, and they're all the same bleeder, same part number. I will link the part numbers or the website in the description. Okay, and we'll give it a shot just to clean everything up. Dry it off quick. My hose is just a little small. And my fingers are a little slickery. You're not supposed to clean your fingers with brake cleaner. There we go. Now I'm going to get set, and we'll start with this one, but I'm going to get things organized a little here. Okay, I think I'm all set. I've got the speed bleeders installed, rear to front, and the VCM. I've got clear hose on all the bleeders. When I ordered the speed bleeders, I did order one of these speed bleeder bags, and I've got it hooked up to the VCM with a wrench already on the bleeder, so it's ready to go. All the bleeders are snug. I've got the strut for the seat unhooked and my seat prop 2000 put in there just to give me more room. The book says this procedure takes 1.85 quarts, which seems excessive, because I think the whole system only holds like 16 ounces. I could be wrong. I'll have to look that up sometime. Anyway, I did buy a turkey baster, aka master cylinder emptier. So it's brand new. I got some of the brake fluid out of both of them, more out of the rear one. I think that's for the front, and I have them refilled. You can already tell I got more out of this one. I filled it back up. You can't even tell it's there, it's so clear. This one's pretty dark. The bleeder I took out of the VCM was corroded a little bit, so it's a good thing I'm doing this. Let's see, who doesn't have a gear oil brand new sitting on their shelf somewhere? So I took the cap off that, and it fits perfect on brake fluid. So I got some new clear vinyl hose, so that's how I'm gonna fill this, just to make it easier and less sloppy. So everything's full. The manual says just to complete a regular brake bleed, starting with, where does it say that? Start with the left front caliper, then go to the right, and then go to the rear, and then go to the VCM. So here we go. And of course, I'm not going to film me pumping brakes 550 times, because it calls for 25 brake pumps, at least 25 full strokes for each caliper. So we'll do a few here, and I'll go over and make sure we're not that my hose didn't pop off, and that we're putting out good fluid here. Oh yeah, my little hose is on good. I bought smaller hose on purpose just so it'd go where those good. The book says to zip tie your hose onto the bleeder, but I ain't doing that. Okay, everything's looking cool. I'm gonna do this one, the right side, the rear, and I'll get back to you after I've done 25 pumps on each caliper, and then we'll go into, well, and then maybe I'll jump back in when I do the VCM, because that would be a normal bleed. That's what I was gonna do on this, and I think that's what most people do before I decided to get the B.U.D.S program. So I'm real curious what B.U.D.S does as far as this next procedure also. So we're gonna learn that together also. So I'll be back here in a little bit. Just a quick note, of course you have to make sure that you don't run your master cylinder out of fluid. And a normal, anytime you do vehicles, you start like with the furthest away from the master cylinder, which on this, of course, is the front left. On a vehicle, it'd be like the back passenger side. And you pump until you have clear fluid coming out. I did 25, and it does look like I have good clean fluid coming out here. So I tightened that one. I'm going to move on to the next, and I'll get back with you. And of course, if you run your master cylinder out, you have to start over. I haven't done that yet. I just thought I'd show you how slick this works. And it's hard to keep count when you're doing two things at once. That's somewhere around 25 or 30, I don't know. But it's much more clear coming out the right than it was the left anyway, because obviously we purged the line going to the VCM first. Look at the difference here. Pretty dark. This started out dark, but it went clear almost right away. Okay. And it helps if your wife has a box of jars that you can raid and have everything all set up so you don't have to move hoses and jars and make that much more of a mess. Okay, I'm going to do the rear. Well, I'll just start it right now. Here we go. And I couldn't get much out of this one with the turkey baster. Okay, so what I'm going to do, since I couldn't get much sucked out of the front one, which is for the rear wheel, I'm going to try to get it pretty close to empty before I fill it. So I'll be back in a minute. So since this one was virtually full, I did like 40 pumps on it until I had good clear brake fluid coming out. So I'm going to call that one good, because first and foremost, we're getting rid of that old stuff. Now I'm going to do the VCM. And I also routed the hose between the A-arms here, just so if you go over, and it's a little bit bigger bleeder, so this is a bigger hose. I didn't want, that much fluid in that hose when I pulled it off that it would dump on there. So when I'm done, I'll pull it down, pinch it off, and get it off there without hopefully releasing too much brake fluid. That'll work. That's about a quarter. I'll do a pump here and make sure it's coming out. You don't have to, ram it You don't want to run the risk of blowing a hose off. Maybe I'll do 2. Yep, we're coming out. Here we go. So I'll be back in 25 pumps. Okay, I've done the front, rear, and the VCM. I have the master cylinder reservoir filled. I should mention that in the instructions it said to, take your front wheels off. I put it up on ramps just to make it better to get around under it. And it does say to make sure it's level, and I did use a level on the bottom of the frame and made sure it was level. If you're just doing a regular bleed, 1 cord is enough, because I pumped it more than probably I needed to, and I still have, probably I can't see, but I've got some left in a quart. I've got a 12 ounce ready to go. I'm hooked up, all my bleeders are tight, and the book says, well, first of all, the book said, this requires another person. Assistance is required to accomplish some actions. So, thanks, Speed Bleeder. Order of events. B.U.D.S bleeding sequence. Complete manual bleeding of front, rear, and we did the VCM. So it says, each sequence must be carried out without interruption. And it says connect B.U.D.S. So let's turn this thing on and read data. Read and understand the procedure on screen before beginning it. So if there's a lot of reading, I might pause so I understand it before we carry on here. So then we're going to go to the setting tab. And then down below, so we're in settings, and then down below we're going to click VCM. And it says to do the front circuit first. So I'm going to click bleed front circuit. Alright, open the bleeder on the front left wheel. Actuate the brake pedal once per 3 seconds during the entire process. For a minute I thought I was going to have help. Having to have the brake pedal depressed at the end of this procedure and then close the bleeder on the caliper. So I'm not sure if they're having you do that just to make sure you don't pull an air bubble back into the caliper, or if the computer is going to know that the brake pedal's pressed when we finish the left one. But I think I have a plan. So I insulated copper wire, so it's a rigid wire I've got wrapped around here. And I went through my iron pile and found a nice hunk of steel that I can, and then this is just one of those strap keeper or something. You can get these at Harbor Freight really cheap. And a carabiner in it, taped on so it doesn't slip off. So at the end of this, I will clip this on and keep the brake pedal depressed until I close that bleeder. And then it says, so warning time 20, or waiting time minutes 25 seconds. So I don't know how long they're going to have me do this, but I may have to refill the reservoir for the front, because it says keep it full, but you have to press the brake every 3 seconds. So I'm not sure. I might have to abort this whole thing. We'll see. Here we go. when you're ready, let's see, just in case. I really just don't want to make a big mess. I'm going to have that up and ready, and a rag here for when I spill. This may turn into a video of just how to manually bleed your brakes. We'll see. Because I don't have any help available. Okay, here we go. Okay, bleeding the front left in progress. 1 every 3 seconds. It must be monitoring the brake pushes. Completed successfully, so I'm going to hang this baby. Hopefully my wire doesn't pull apart. Stay. Then we're going to close the bleeder. I honestly don't know what's different here than what I already did, besides it's monitoring it in B.U.D.S. Now I'm going to fill this baby. Top it off. At least it didn't have me do it for like 20 minutes. Okay. Bleeding of front left wheel, bleeding complete successfully. Okay. Now, primary and secondary bleeding circuit via front right wheel. Open the bleeder to the front right wheel. Actuate, this says 106 seconds. Actuate the brake pedal once every 3. Add fluid, continue. When bleeding is complete, keep the brake pedal depressed, and then close the bleeder. So I think with those speed bleeders, I don't need to do this because it never said release the brake pedal. So now we're gonna open the right, quarter turn, press OK to start this phase. It's actually actuating the VCM now. Oh crap. Oh, it wasn't empty. Still good on fluid. I'm going to top it off again real quick. Bleeding of right front wheel completed successfully. So I'm going to close the bleeder. Closed. I didn't leave that down. Okay. Okay, front's done. So, make sure the back is topped off here. Top off the front. Oh, just so you know, when you bled the VCM manually, it pulls it out of the reservoir for the rear wheel, which I've wondered about. So I had to fill this one as I was bleeding the VCM. Okay, let's do get on there. Let's do the rear wheel. Bleeding rear circuit. Here we go. 25 seconds. Open the bleeder at the rear wheel. Actuate the brake pedal once per 3 seconds during the entire process. Add brake forward. Bleeding's complete. Keep the brake pedal depressed, which obviously, if you have speed bleeders, you don't have to do that. When you're ready, press the OK button to start. OK. Oh, I guess I should open the bleeder. Jeez. Here we go. Still good on fluid level. It says it's completed successfully. So, let me tighten that baby. Okay. Now the VCM. Primary and secondary circuit bleeding. We have VCM bleeder. Open the bleeder. Actuate the brake every 3 seconds. Add brake fluid corresponding. So same instructions. And this one I don't know, I may use the weight when I'm finished here. I need to top off that reservoir. The book said 1.85 quarts. I haven't even used a quart yet. And just so because I was sure it'd take more than this, so I was ready, I opened that one, so I probably ruined a 12-ounce thing of brake fluid. And it is DOT4, by the way. Here we go. Get this one open. And go. Just top that off again real quick. So it's obviously not monitoring the brake pedal push every 3 seconds. Because it hasn't said, hey buddy, you're too slow. Or hey, we know you don't have help. Speed it up a little. Still good on fluid level. Kind of hard to push against the VCM. Okay, it completed successfully. I'm gonna hang this thing. Then I'm gonna close that bleeder. I ended up with too much fluid in the front, or the back reservoir for the fronts, so hit OK. Then I'm going to release the brake pedal. The book says reinstall caliper. Then it says to do a pressure test. Where's that at? Carry out a brake system pressure validation as detailed in this subsection. Where are you at? Right here. Okay, so it says to basically put it all back together before, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to bleed a little bit off of that. I'm going to fill the reservoir for the rear to the appropriate level. And I'm going to bleed a little more off the front just to have the level perfect. One note, when you have these off, clean them up really good and make them dry. And then you'll see there's okay, there's a vent right here, right? So there's a cut in the plastic of the cap, and then there's also, you can see it, there's a V cut in the diaphragm here, so it's basically a vent. So when you put it back together, make sure everything's clean and dry, as well as the mating surface on here. Make sure that V is pointed toward that hole, and when you put the cap on, make sure that you put it on with the vent pointing almost straight up. If you put it pointing down, you're going to end up leaking brake fluid once in a while, and that might be the reason you're getting your reservoir so dirty. So make sure you do that, and I'll be back when I get this all back together and have it sitting on the ground. Bye. One more quick note. When I took the hose off, I doused it with brake cleaner, and of course don't use chlorinated, so make sure you're getting non-chlorinated. It's easier on the soft parts. Doused it all down, blew it dry. Speed bleeders do come with a cap, so you can either do that, and it does slide down over the the hex part, or you can hang the originals and they do fit on there nice and tight. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll be back. Okay, pull your diaphragm out of the cap. I'm using carbon choke cleaner. Spray it all off and blow it out.
make sure that little V slit in the diaphragm is aiming toward that vent cut in the cap. And then that, make sure we're dry here on the mating surface. And then make sure when you put it on, that vent is aiming up. Okay, I'll still be back in a minute. And if you're curious, I did not drive it up onto that rear ramp because you won't have very good luck. I drove it up on the front, jacked it up, and I use a piece of belting on my jack so we're not metal to metal, because that's kind of dangerous. So we'll get it off this ramp. And the lift I use is a Harbor Freight. It's their aluminum one, so it's a little more expensive than the metal framed motorcycle lift, but it's really light and works really good. Okay, I'm going to torque my front wheels before I forget, and that's 80 foot-pounds for the fronts. Okay, now we're going to do the brake system pressure validation. It says don't pump the brake before doing this. In B.U.D.S, select monitoring. And then VCM on the bottom again. And what we're looking for is the brake pressure sensor PSI here. And the low pressure switch right there. So we're looking for this to come on, and then what our PSI is. And I have a brake failure. Low brake fluid. Okay, we're going to do this pressure test. It says just push it once, and we're looking for until we get up to 508 PSI. We're at 508, and the pressure light, low pressure light, did not come on, so it says that's a valid test. Which means we successfully bled the brakes. Do it again here. 517, low pressure switch did not come on. If low pressure switch button is still off when you reach the required pressure, the validation is successful. Okay, well, I'm gonna take care of this, check my brake fluid level again real quick, and then I'll be back. I went ahead and added just a little bit, like normal, you know, a tablespoon will do it, and my air went away, so I'll show you in B.U.D.S. I'm on the faults and my air went away, so I went ahead and wrote that data. It said nothing changed, so I'm gonna exit out of here. And now let's talk speed bleeders. They had their part numbers wrong for up until just like a month or two ago. So last fall I had actually ordered these, and I ordered the SB 825Ls. So I'm on Speed Bleeder's main page here. You click motorcycle applications, which takes you to here. Then you click Can Am, it takes you to here. So the SB 8125L, and we're not talking stainless here. You can order a stainless one too. I did not. Is good for the front and the rear brakes up until it looks like 2012. So 13 is the big body change. with these RTs, but it looks like if you have a 08 GS through a 12 limited or a RT 2012 RT, any of those prior ones, it takes the SB 8125L. If you comment, I'll shoot these in the mail to you, and you'll have a full set for the calipers, front and rear. You'll have to still order the SB 1010S for the VCM, which is the same clear through all of them, but for the price of one, you can have a full set. Let me know and we'll figure out how to for me to get your address. The ones for the new ones are the SB 6100. They're M6 by 1. So just so everybody knows, there's been some major confusion. A lot of people ordered the wrong ones and had to get them replaced. I'm not going to mess around shipping these back. I just ordered the correct ones when they updated their parts here, and luckily I didn't try doing this before I figured out I needed this SB 6100. So anyway, if I've never asked this, and I'm not going to very often, but if you like what you're seeing and get a little value out of it, subscribe to my channel. So the next big project is overhaul of the ACS system. I was going to do it today, but I'm not going to have time. So that'll be coming in the next few weeks when I get a day that I don't want to ride and I have time. We're going to rip this thing clear apart, and there's nothing you won't know about the ACS system after that video. So stay tuned and have a great day. Bye.